And in that regard, I also want to pay special attention to and welcome members of the Senior Appointments Committee of Council. A special welcome to our Chairperson of Council and to members of the Council, to representatives of important university stakeholder bodies, members of our institution as UWC, to representatives of our student body and the students who may be in the audience. Just to give you some preliminary guidance on the process to follow, we have a time frame of about a half an hour for the meeting, which was due to begin at 8:50, so we're a little bit behind time. We will try to conclude by about 9:20, about 9:25. In the course of that half hour, there's a 20-minute opportunity for a presentation. There's an opportunity for approximately 3 questions during a 10-minute Q&A period. If there are questions that are in addition to the 3 or so that we'll field in the course of the meeting, I would like to ask that colleagues please email these to the registrar in advance of 11:55 this morning so that they can be properly considered as part of the proceedings, for example, in relation to the interview later today. On that note, I also want to alert you to the presentation topic. I'm going to go over this very briefly. Arts and humanities have a critical role to play in the holistic development of university graduates, as well as in the development of new areas of scholarship. Please present your vision, strategy, and practical approaches to research, teaching, learning, and community engagement over the next 5-year period with due regard to the following. Given your expertise as a scholar and experience of learning in the arts and humanities, please describe opportunities for the arts and humanities in terms of new or emergent areas of work and their relevance for the development of students, academics and researchers over the next 5 years, and secondly, strategies that you will implement to foster A, cross-disciplinary collaboration in research and teaching, and B, challenges posed by AI and generative AI, and C, to meet postgraduate enrollment targets. On that note, I also want to remind colleagues, because we are a combination of online and in-person members today, if you're online, please, can members of the Secretariat keep an eye on questions coming through in that forum so that we can keep them all integrated and in the same space. On that note, I'd like to welcome our first candidate. Good morning, Prof. Fatima Fiona Muller, and welcome to this session with the UWC in relation to this application of Dean. I want especially to recognize you before our audience before we begin with the morning's proceedings, but just to say how very grateful we are that you made application, that we look forward to listening to you, Prof, and that we look forward to engaging with you in the course of the day. Prof. Fiona Muller is a distinguished academic with many, many years of experience. She has over 5 awards recognizing her expertise in research. She's supervised 5 PhD students, over 9 master's students. She's also an eminent and recognized researcher nationally. She enjoys an NRF rating as a C2 scholar and as an expert in African literature. Prof. Fiona has many, many years of experience also in teaching and has an extensive portfolio involving reviewer work, critical participation in panels within our sector in South Africa, and also international recognition and collaborations, all of which are detailed in the CV and the application letter. Prof. Fiona, we have 20 minutes to listen to you this morning. We have timekeepers in our audience. There we go, so please keep an eye out on the time. And then, as I said, we will have also a period to engage with you with some questions afterwards. So we have about a half an hour all in all. Thank you very much, Prof, and over to you.
Okay, good morning, colleagues. Thank you to those of you who managed to be here this morning. I know it's an awkward time. And thank you so much to all of those whom I know are online. So I was given a number of questions, all of which explore different aspects of the following observation. The arts and humanities have a critical role to play in the holistic development of university graduates, as well as in the development of new areas of scholarship. Before I go on to address the focused questions that shed light on this statement, I would first like to make a statement of my own. So, what is it that I'd like to say? I'd like to say that the Faculty of Arts and Humanities at the University of the Western Cape is poised to be recognized as a leading faculty of arts and humanities in the region and in the country. And I would like to be a part of the creative and energetic leadership that brings that to light. I have been a teacher and scholar at UWC for many years now. In fact, in total, almost 20, but the years have passed very quickly. When you're having fun, they pass quickly. And in that time, I have seen students move to other institutions with the resources to give them better funding. But I've noticed that these students often come back to our faculty for further degrees or as staff members because they have a sense of belonging at UWC. They recognize the quality of the teaching and they value the research excellence in our faculty that is directed at positively transforming social worlds. So we are poised to be recognized as a leading arts and humanities faculty in the region and in the country, since we are able to build on the work of those who have come before us. The faculty is at a turning point where it's very important to recognize the legacy of those next year or two. We host 4 dynamic centers, including the Center for Humanities Research, whose history has been integral to the transformation of perceptions of UWC, helping it to break free of its apartheid racialized origins. We are home to the Center for Multilingualism and Diversities Research, with its groundbreaking projects on Afrikaans, and the Desmond Tutu Center that very courageously aligns its research and activities with social justice advocacy. The recently acquired Center for the Advanced Studies of African Society is a hub of continental African research connectivity, and the envisioned African Center for Applied Research in Forensic Linguistics will extend the faculty's reach into the professional legal arena. The faculty also hosts a number of chairs that are powerhouses of research, from MA and PhD projects to national and international research collaborations. I'm not going to name and overview them all, it's going to take a bit too long, but it's on the slide for your information. So programs in the faculty and the research units in various ways prepare our students for professional and academic careers and for lifelong critical citizenship. So to say again, the faculty is poised to be the arts and humanities faculty of choice in the region for undergraduate and postgraduate study. And we aim to attract talented fee-paying students for arts and humanities degrees who will cross-subsidize talented students who come from backgrounds of financial precarity. This is especially important in our current crisis, where state and third stream funding are dwindling and where student fees are our second largest source of income after the DHET subsidy. Registration of talented fee-paying students should be used to increase the access of students unable to pay fees to study at our institution. I would like to be one of the people at the forefront of transformed perceptions of the faculty and the transformed standing of the university as a whole. But to return to the questions I was asked to address, what are the opportunities for arts and humanities in emergent areas of scholarship? It is revealing to note that emergent areas in arts and humanities scholarship are all inherently inter- and transdisciplinary areas. I identify 4 main areas of expansion for the UWC Faculty of Arts and Humanities. These are in the environmental humanities, in the digital humanities, medical humanities, and legal humanities. In each of these areas, the faculty already has a significant footprint, but this footprint may be more intentionally developed in even more productive ways. So, if one looks at the environmental humanities, they're not new to UWC and to the Faculty of Arts and Humanities. Publications in this area may be traced back to the 1980s, when environmental humanities were not even on the radar of most other institutions. There have been strong environmental niches in a number of departments, including religion and theology, and the English department, my home department, where eco-criticism has for a long time infused and energized undergraduate teaching and postgraduate research projects. Questions of environment also overlap other areas, like the Critical Food Studies project in the Women's and Gender Studies department, and the research focus on sustainable food production in Geography, Environmental Studies, and Tourism. There are also strong environmental themes running through the work of the centers, like many of the puppetry arts projects at the CHR, especially the current Herds project and the environmental theme in the work of the Desmond Tutu Center. These hubs have produced excellent work, but approached intentionally and creatively, extending their reach, they could be developed further into cross-disciplinary degrees across departments within the faculty. One could take it even further to cross-disciplinary degrees across faculties, partnering with science and economic management sciences, for example. The faculty is currently involved in the Towards Enhancing Sustainable and Innovative Environmental Change Solutions project, or TESIEX project. This is an intra-Africa mobility project that brings together arts and humanities at UWC and the University of Johannesburg, with development practice at the University of Botswana, natural resource science at the Namibia University of Science and Technology, and the climate change and development at the University of Zimbabwe. So we are gaining experience in collaborations across institutions of higher education also. We could also purposefully grow cross-disciplinary degrees that incorporate some element of practice, making degrees also transdisciplinary, incorporating NGOs, industry, civic organizations, professional bodies, and government. So, for example, one could conceivably have a PhD student who is co-supervised in both arts and science, with a practice-based element in the thesis coming from work in an urban food garden, for example. Extending the intrinsically rhizomatic nature of much arts and humanities inquiry into other disciplines and outside of the boundaries of the university campus could see an exponential growth in important postgraduate and staff researcher projects. These types of degrees and projects would also position the faculty to benefit from the remaining funding opportunities that exist, directed at climate change mitigation and sustainability. Arts and humanities disciplines are disciplines that tend instinctively to look backwards in order to look forwards, and then also unsettle linear progressive time to produce provocative, critical, historical, and cross-cultural insights. This, no doubt, will be the approach of the new UK-South Africa bilateral chair in the digital humanities housed in the CHR, that will inject new vigor into existing niches that have existed in the faculty for quite a few years. Although digital humanities inquiry always extends beyond the technological, the UWC Innovation Hub could be incorporated into arts and humanities research, for example, through creative projects using AR and VR. I'm thinking of in creative writing science fiction projects, for example, that may attract a host of students and researchers, since UWC is the only university with an AR/VR facility. Then there are also other emergent areas that present possibilities. And again, drawing on existing strengths. So postgraduate programs and funded research projects could be conceptualized under a medical humanities platform that connect medical sociology with the Faculty of Community Health Sciences, or one could connect indigenous critical plant studies in the Department of Anthropology with pharmacy in the Faculty of Science, and the same possibilities exist for forensic linguistics with the law faculty. So opportunities for postgraduate study and research exist in emergent areas through intentional development of existing faculty strengths. It's not something that's new to us. So what are some of the strategies that one could employ to foster cross-disciplinary collaboration and teaching? Let's consider research. It's always important, I believe, to build from the ground up. So in my existing role as Deputy Dean of Research and Postgraduate Study in the faculty, I've established faculty-based workshops that take place across the year, including structured networking opportunities for MA and PhD students. Students, for the first time in a structured way, have had the opportunity to make contact across departments and have begun to identify the synergies across their thesis projects, seeing them share resources and bounce ideas off one another. Then, co-supervisions in the faculty have been actively encouraged, bringing together researchers in the centers and even researchers outside of UWC, for example, in the HSRC. With whom we have an MOU. These co-supervisions are almost always cross-disciplinary, bringing together literary studies and historical studies, or sociology and women's and gender studies, for example. We could take this a step further by creating a shared database of research expertise to be consulted by any department considering the application of an MA or PhD student. They could then enlist the expertise of colleagues in other departments, ensuring the best research expertise for a wide range of projects that cross disciplinary lines. Thirdly, the faculty is actively developing practice-based research and theses where practice-based work necessarily will lead to transdisciplinary engagements, incorporating, for example, the various arts and culture industries or museums and art galleries. A precedent for this kind of transdisciplinary collaboration in the faculty exists in the Zeitz-Mocker Museum Fellowship Program, which may be intentionally developed further into other such programs. And this extends our new honors media studies degree, similarly can be connected with the media studies industry and so on. But possibly the most productive option that the faculty may purposively explore is that of the research group or research collective. Research groups are a lot more flexible than chairs or centers and may very effectively be used to leverage funding or could be oriented around various other goals, for example, setting a publication goal or a community engagement goal. Again, an example of a transdisciplinary research group exists in the faculty in the projects of the CHR in the country town of Barrydale. The work of the CHR in Barrydale is a cross-fertilization of puppetry art, theatre, and environmentalism. One could conceive of the Barrydale project or a project in any other community that brings together historical studies with its expertise in oral history methodology, allowing the community to reflect on its own history, and then bring in EMS with a research strategy directed at eradicating poverty in the community, and anthropology with its specialization in indigenous knowledges, and one could also bring in the Department of Biodiversity and Conservation Biology to explore biodiversity and sustainable food production, as one example. So research groups that flexibly collaborate on focused projects have the potential to allow the faculty to achieve its goals. Then with regard to teaching, I believe it's only really from honors on that students should be encouraged to work in cross-disciplinary ways, because it remains quite important to acquire the disciplinary knowledge and practice at undergraduate level that will give them particular strengths. The next area that I need to address relates to strategies to face the challenges of AI and generative AI. Here we need to specify that the challenges in some ways are different in the arts and humanities. Independent critical reading, independent critical thinking, and independent critical writing are the foundations upon which arts and humanities disciplines are based. In some disciplines, for example, in literary study, individuality, uniqueness, and freshness of expression are also highly valued. As a kind of shorthand, we refer to this as the student or researcher's voice. Indiscriminate use of AI will erode these foundations of arts and humanities inquiry, and the voice and agency of the student or researcher will be muted and eventually lost. But it's critical for students and researchers to be completely familiar with AI tools and the possibilities they present and the pitfalls, especially since they will increasingly be incorporated into daily life and into workplaces where our students may find themselves. The faculty drew up an advisory on AI use in 2023 that may need to be developed into a policy that discriminates between different levels of study and different disciplines, and we'll have to sort of consult the disciplinary experts to draw up this policy. So the important thing is that arts and humanities, that in arts and humanities, the human and the humanities need to remain in control. But probably the most significant challenge of AI for me is how it will impact on the articulation of alternative ways of knowing and thinking, alternative epistemologies that lie at the heart of the decolonial counter-globalization project. With algorithmic bias, data dominance, data bias, and data colonization, generative AI tools may create forms of digital mental colonization or mental slavery from which with time it may be hard to escape. I think in our context, this may be the most important reason why students and researchers should approach generative AI with extreme caution. I was also asked to address strategies to meet postgraduate enrollment targets. So I see I'm running out of time, so I'm going to get straight to the points. So I think what we need to do is that we need to intentionally market the faculty in such a way that it becomes clear that we are the home of cutting edge and quality research. We need to expand our local recruitment by identifying the sectors in which we may be able to draw postgraduate students. So I'm thinking, for example, of very focused recruitment at schools where teachers who in the past often have done postgraduate degrees with us, where we show them who we are, what it is that we do, and the ways in which a postgraduate degree with us would enhance their professional portfolio. So schools is just one example. There were a number of others. The faculty has also successfully graduated many MAs and PhDs from other African countries. We should actually create alumni groups of these students and encourage them through their good experience to refer UWC to other continental students who may want to study with us. We also need to encourage relationships with international partners so that they know that if they have a postgrad student working in an African studies area, UWC is the place to send that student because they're going to, at UWC, they'll be able to connect with the best researchers in the area and also the best networks in the area. So existing postgraduate programs or tailored interdisciplinary postgraduate programs could attract larger numbers of students by channeling students into cultural, creative, and media industries through establishing partnerships with such industries. And we've already seen this with the CMDR and with government and the Media Studies Honours Project and its established creating linkages with the media industry. And we would generally tend to look at Anglo-American sources for funding. We need to redirect that focus. So, for example, the faculty is already considering the possibility of a chair in world cultures, translation and understanding, where we try to leverage funding from sort of Middle Eastern funders. So, the important thing is, the crucial factor for me is that we need to attract talented, fee-paying students to support and cross-subsidize the talented students we attract who can't afford to pay fees. So, in closing, what I'd like to say is that in the arts and humanities, we need to continue thinking creatively and flourishing sustainably. I see that as an achievable goal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Muller. We have an opportunity for a few questions, and I'd just like to see if there's a show of hands in the audience, or perhaps online if you could also alert us to any questions. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is I take your point. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Prof, at the back.
Thank you very much for that very unifying presentation. I think it is important for us to think about what we share in this faculty and how we might build on those precedents. I'm interested in the question of institutional memory and how we might foster what exists in UWC in its long history and its very difficult struggles to build this faculty, and how we might use that as a platform for reimagining both curricular questions, but also how we might cohere some of the research questions towards more purposeful directions as you were presenting. So how important is institutional memory? What are the ways we build on that institutional memory, and which resources might we deploy to those ends?
Okay, so I think institutional memory is incredibly important at an institution like UWC, which in some ways in the South African higher education landscape is a unique and very special institution. And I know that you, for example, have invested quite a lot in keeping this institutional memory alive through various publications and so on. And I, for myself, have always had a project in mind. So I come from literary studies. And what I've noticed about UWC is that UWC seems to have attracted more literary reflections on its existence than any other university in South Africa. In fact, I can't think of an example of anyone who has written about their university in the same way that students have written about students who have gone on to be poets and writers have written and reflected on this institution. So I, for example, have had this idea, but I have not had the time to get around to it. I thought it may be an excellent research project to look at literary reflections of UWC and then tie that up with other aspects of UWC's history and the ways in which it's been represented. So I agree with you that sort of just reflecting on the history of this institution would be an excellent cross-disciplinary and
kind of pronged question, but related. And as I ask this question as a kind of quote-unquote next generation research scholar, which is a title I hope to shed in the next year or so. There was an email not so long ago about no funding for local conferences, and I'm asking this to speak to the future of the humanities and building a kind of cohort of people who will take over from the people who are retiring. And I'm asking this because there's a number of people retiring in the coming years. And what are the kind of succession plans and the kinds of problems that come with, quote unquote, the juniorization of the faculty, whereas there's no kind of, senior staff to, to enable a kind of, passing down of, institutional memory, if you want. Thanks.
Okay, so I don't like the term juniorization of the faculty because in fact I see emerging academics as a source of strength and energy and potential for the future. And I also don't think that we don't have sufficient experience in the faculty, because we do. You can see some of that experience sitting here. So I think it's a question of creating very structured programs for emerging academics to allow them to develop their careers and their research profiles so that they also are able to shed the emerging researcher title as quickly as you are doing. And you've not been with us for that long. And I think that your progress possibly is an example of what we should be doing with other researchers and academics in the faculty. Sort of as the Deputy Dean of Research, since I took over towards the end of 2023, I've regarded it as being part of my, a very important part of my work, to ensure that that there's transparency in the faculty so that emerging academics and researchers understand how the systems work. I've tried to facilitate the systems for emerging researchers and academics. I've tried to connect them up with funding. And yes, the lack of local conference funding this year was alarming, hence my orange font message, right? It was alarming. But I'm hoping that we're going to get our publication output up for this year, and hopefully that local conference funding will be reinstated for next year.
Thank you so much, Prof. Mula. My question is, how will your identity as a scholar, well, your identity and your experience as a scholar of African literatures, how will that shape the way that you lead both strategically and operationally in the humanities, the arts and humanities faculty? Okay,
that's an interesting question. So, as a scholar of literature, I believe that literature is sort of the most cross and transdisciplinary discipline of all of the disciplines, because and I'm a scholar especially of the novel, right? That's my area of specialization. And what is it that the novel attempts to do? So classically, the novel attempts to capture all of life, right? And in studying novels, one in fact is studying all of life. And in studying African literature, one becomes very alert to the ways in which African and post-colonial societies have been positioned in global culture. And a lot of my work in African literature research is connected with making African literature and Africa visible on a world stage in a way that it can't be ignored, because the research needs to be challenging, provocative, and needs to be of the highest quality in order to engage in sort of world literary and Anglo-American literary, to enter into those discourses and make itself felt in those discourses. So, so I think in a sense, my background in African literature alerts me to all of the critical issues that address us as a society, as an institution, the challenges to our epistemologies. All of that filters through literary study and African literary study.
Thank you very much, Prof. Muller. We've really enjoyed the opportunity to be with you this morning, and we'll have a further opportunity as members of the committee to engage a bit later. Colleagues, I want to draw this part of our process to a close to thank Prof very much for making the application and for also giving us the presentation this morning. I think let's give a round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. We're running a little bit late on our schedule already because of the somewhat later start. So I just want to check with our secretariat whether we're ready to go on. Everyone? Yes? Good morning and welcome, Prof. Bheki and Ngomezulu. It's a pleasure to welcome you to the University of the Western Cape. Please make yourself comfortable. Prof. Bheki, I'm going to introduce you to our audience this morning, and then we will have an opportunity for approximately 20 minutes for the presentation. There'll also be an opportunity for about 10 minutes of questions. And we'll take at least sort of 2 or 3 questions in that time. But we are really thrilled to be able to welcome you back, I should say, because Prof is no stranger to UWC, has a sterling career throughout the sector and has worked at DUT, UKZN, NMU, CPUT, at the Mzala Centre and at Rice University, has supervised over 15 PhDs, and also a good many master's degrees, and is a historian as an expert in the field. Prof. Bheki is also one of our educators who has also taught briefly at a school, so that's also interesting to note in terms of the CV. And we look forward to hearing from you, Prof, in the course of the presentation, and as I said, thereafter we'll have some questions. In the front of the audience today, Prof. Bheki is our timekeeper. So when you see the sign go up, then you have an idea of how close we are to the finishing point. But on that note, I would like to hand over to Prof. Ngomezulu, and we take us through the presentation this morning. Thank you very much. Has it been preloaded by the Secretariat? Yes, it has, Prof. So in your safe hands.
Okay, thank you. Good morning to everyone. I'll try to be as briefly as humanly possible. Let's see. Why is it disappearing? Mr. Chair. Okay. No, I'll use both the hard copy and that one just to save time. Okay. I was given a brief and then I had to compose a topic that would speak to the brief I was given. These are the points that I'll be talking to. I'm not going to go through them now in the interest of time. So I start off by saying that historically, the humanities has gone through a couple of phases. Starting from ancient Greece, which is when the humanities, in fact, were ranked high up there. They enjoyed the status of both respect and prestige, but unfortunately, something happened in the 1990s where the humanities, arts and humanities, dropped due to what was called low economic value. So people were saying that the arts and humanities had a low economic value. So then something had to be done drastically. So then we fast forward that to the current phase that we find ourselves in, where there are deliberate attempts being made to try and re-envision arts and humanities due to global socio-political challenges. We've come to the realization that as much as we can privilege your pure sciences and your natural sciences, the reality of the matter is you cannot address most of the global issues without bringing on board your arts and humanities expertise. So that is why then there has been an attempt by a number of countries to try and reposition arts and humanities to try and respond to the current needs. Higher education institutions in Israel, for example, are already attracting as many students as possible to try and join arts and humanities because they're of the view that the current situation, geopolitics, dictate that you need people with such expertise. In the South African context, after asking the question, what are humanities for, way back in 2002, a study was commissioned to try and understand the nature and the state of humanities in the South African context. And eventually they came to the conclusion that market ideology is in fact a problem. In other words, we are looking at our higher education institutions on monetary value, which then means that you privilege the other academic fields and then push arts and humanities to the periphery, which is a disgrace in my view, a point we'll talk about later. Then in the USA, they came to the conclusion that there is a business model which then makes it difficult to promote humanities. But interestingly, in the US, it doesn't matter what degree you do, there are institutions which will insist that you must do at least history as part of your modules, either for the semester or for a year. I studied there. I was doing history for my advantage, but those who were doing other fields, law, economics, whatever else, they to do at least history as part of their modules, because you cannot apply any of those sciences without understanding the context within which you are operating. Then in the UK, there's been an attempt by a number of institutions to try and reposition humanities. In this case, the University of York recently stated that researchers in the arts and humanities at York University are reframing understanding of historical, artistic, and philosophical figures and helping shape the future of this discipline, because they are of the view that there is no way that you can relegate it to the periphery given the issues I've just outlined earlier. Interdisciplinary research has gained new impetus even among donors, thus making arts and humanities transcend their historical identity or tag, where they were seen as a separate entity. We are now part of the collective, and therefore there is no way that you can push arts and humanities to the periphery. Teaching and learning, research as well as community engagement must therefore embrace this reality. So which means that is what we are dealing with. Now, in terms of my vision about the faculty, I start off by looking at the idea of a vision being a mental image or concept of something, often a desired future or an imagined possibility. In other words, you close your eyes and then you see yourself in a particular place, and then that becomes your vision. Then, of course, UWC also has a vision. Look at the university's documents. It's clear that the university wants to be seen as a research-led institution. So by and large, that is what the institution aspires to achieve, and therefore all faculties are guided by that, because no faculty can operate in isolation. You are guided by the institutional vision. And then currently, the Faculty of Arts and Humanities envisions itself as a vibrant intellectual space rooted in South Africa and Africa that explores systems and ideas and values shaping human experience while contributing to global debates through rigorous scholarship and addressing local and global challenges. I also share this view, because you cannot be a university geographically located in Africa, but then you look at things through the lens coming from elsewhere. That is why with Fees Must Fall in 2015, 2016, it was particularly to respond to this call. And then going forward, this is what I consider to be my mental image, my desired future, or my imagined possibility about the faculty. I would like to see the faculty then at UWC as an African-oriented faculty which fosters critical thinking through a decolonized curriculum and scholarship which produces African-grounded students and contributes to societal well-being within Africa and beyond through its research, teaching, and community engagement. In other words, there are two critical things for me. There is no way that you can be a university in Africa and then you are behaving as though you exist in Europe. And by the way, there is this fallacy that if you prioritize Africanization, you are therefore displacing internationalization and globalization. That's a lie. I've written about that. I've worked with other scholars that those can in fact coexist. Now, my strategy, a strategy obviously is a plan of action designed to achieve long-term goals. In other words, you know what you want to achieve, then you have a plan to achieve that. It is about how the ends, that is the goals, will be achieved, and then the resources that you are going to employ to try and achieve that. Given the fact that DHET is cutting as financial support to higher education institutions, I then came up with 5 things that will constitute my strategy. 1, exchanging notes with other faculties within UWC and other universities. I'm of the view that this faculty cannot operate in isolation. Within the institution, we have to exchange notes with other faculties. And then 2, increasing research outputs in the faculty in line with UWC's vision of being a research-led institution. I once made myself unpopular at one institution when I was saying that I'm uncomfortable when you have a number of professors who are not prophesying on anything. You are a professor, but you can't produce an article within 5 years. Then I said, what are you prophesying on? Then, of course, eventually they understood where I was coming from. So if the university is a research-led institution, therefore it means all of us have to work towards achieving that goal. And then thirdly, ensuring that the student throughput rate is accelerated without compromising, of course, quality. We cannot just keep on pushing students as if we're a factory, but the students we produce must be students of high quality. And then, of course, forging relations with prospective employers and sharing market needs and faculty offerings. We know what we are able to offer, but we know what the industry needs, so that at least the two can talk to each other. And then, of course, treating students and staff well so that they do free marketing for the faculty. I'm not one of the people who wants to come up with a budget of an X amount trying to market our modules. If we treat staff well, we treat students well, these are the people who are going to do free marketing for the institution. These are some of the practical approaches in terms of research. Set agreed to internal thresholds for staff at different levels and organize writing retreats for them. In other words, we agree as a collective, if you are a junior staff, this is what we expect as a bare minimum. If you are a senior lecturer, if you are an associate professor, if you are a full professor. I'm uncomfortable when a full professor is to perform at the same level as a junior lecturer and its salaries are different. It doesn't make sense to me. Of course, we can discuss that. And of course, encourage co-authorship among staff and between supervisors and postgraduate students. I like this one because I've done it several times. I've co-authored with a number of students, even if I'm not supervising them, because I believe that we have to capacitate the youngsters and then hand over the baton when we retire. Although I'm not going to retire, I'll just go to government when I retire. Government has become a retirement age. And then you also pair seasoned and early career researchers. Because if I'm an early career researcher, then there is a senior researcher. The two of us work together, not in competition, but then complementing one another. Then we stand a better chance. In the area of teaching, I would encourage collaboration on curriculum design and get students' views. The mistake that we make is to sit in a little corner out there and design a curriculum for the students. Some students will tell you that nothing for us, nothing about us without us. So they must have an impact in some way, so that at least you infuse their ideas, so that at least they know that the curriculum that they are being taught is the curriculum that is going to make them perform well when they go out to communities. And place decolonization at the center while embracing internationalization and globalization. I've already made the point that this can coexist. It doesn't mean that decolonization will only owe its existence in the absence of the other two. It doesn't work like that. And then in terms of community engagement, I would encourage rich research which addresses societal issues and check with communities what their needs are, so that at least these universities don't become ivory towers, which is the tag that was there some years back. And of course, arrange gatherings on and off campus to discuss topics of common interest. There are things that the university wants to push, but there are also things that the communities are interested in. Sometimes you can find synergy and then compile research projects that will address those kinds of issues. And then make sure that postgraduate students participate in public debates and also in media and through various writings. If you're a postgraduate student, you get your degree having not commented on anything of national, international importance, then it means something is definitely wrong. So you must be there, and then you represent the institution. Now, some opportunities that exist, I just highlighted a few. I'm not going to read all of them in the interest of time, but the point I'm making is that currently there is no academic field where employment is guaranteed. You can think of any field. So it means that you just have to do whatever you can, because some, of course, secure jobs for other reasons, other than the ones we expect. You must be connected politically. You must exchange brown envelopes. There are quite a number of things that happen. But then as long as you know that you went into the arts and humanities for a particular reason, you will still find something to do. The opportunities then will include the following for academics. I've just listed a few of them. And then they'll also include this for students, basically meaning that there are opportunities out there, but it all depends on how one markets oneself and therefore how one positions oneself. Given an opportunity to grab it, and then make sure that you deliver. It is crucial to prepare students, academics and researchers to know about this and other opportunities, and then grab them with both hands. So that at least when an opportunity arises, then someone can use that. As I come towards the end, Program Director, these are the strategies I was asked to comment on. One, to foster cross-disciplinary collaboration in research and teaching. This is what I will do. One, urge colleagues to emulate those of us already publishing across disciplines, so that at least then we don't operate as a separate entity. And then link up colleagues with others who are already doing this at UWC. Looking at the documents of this university, you can tell that there are quite a number of academics who are already doing that. Then you build on that. It's not as if you're starting from scratch. And of course, encourage cross-disciplinary supervision and guest lecturer exchanges, both at UWC and of course beyond. So that at least if I'm supervising a student here in the faculty, there could be someone with expertise in another faculty. We just co-supervise the student, or in another university. Some of us have done that across universities nationally and internationally, and it works just fine. And we also increase opportunities of you linking up with other scholars. And then of course, strategies to address the challenges posed by AI. It will be foolhardy to pretend to know everything. So the best one can do is to make sure that arrange workshops and webinars and invite people who are knowledgeable about AI, and then of course make sure that they know all the nuances, and then they come in to assist where possible. And then urge staff and students to look into the advantages and disadvantages of AI. There are people who are saying because there is AI, therefore I don't have to think, the computer will think for me. A Chinese was debating with an American, and the American was saying that the computer is smart. And the Chinese said, no, you are missing the point. How can I feed information to the computer and then you say the computer is smarter than me? So in other words, this AI, people get hysterical about AI and then they think all the problems will be solved. There are some glitches. So get people who understand both sides and then make sure that you use their expertise. And then of course, to meet postgraduate enrollment, this is what I will do. One, ensure that those already in the system are treated and supported well so that they can attract others. So that is what the point I was making earlier on, that instead of wasting a lot of money marketing programs, why not treat the students who are already on the system well so that when they go out there, then they become your ambassadors and then they market your programs. Then you can do advertising here and there, but it shouldn't be the primary objective. And then, of course, further improve the postgraduate throughput rate, and of course, organizing postgraduate supervision workshops, and then writing retreats. And then making sure that we touch base with our admissions office. My experience in other universities where I've been to is that you find prospective students applying, but then they don't get the responses on time. And then as a result, some of the potential students end up going elsewhere. So if we keep that constant relationship with the admissions office, we are most likely to make sure that students do join our institution. In conclusion, like all faculties, the Faculty of Arts and Humanities has evolved over time. The marketization of higher education has disadvantaged the faculty significantly. But then, of course, there is now an attempt to come up with fresh ideas to try and reposition the faculty so that it becomes attractive again. And then both academic staff and postgraduate students have a role to play in changing perceptions about the arts and humanities by demonstrating the faculty's value through what they do in public. And then treating students well and ensuring that they finish on time is a good marketing strategy. A collaboration among faculties internally and externally should take precedent over competition, because the latter, in fact, would be to the detriment of the students and academics, because we'll be competing against one another as opposed to complementing one another and then, of course, collaborating. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Prof. Mkonozulu. We have an opportunity for 3 questions. It was a very thought-provoking and stimulating presentation, so who would like to go first? With the microphone, I see on this side of the room, and then we'll move to that side, Prof. And please also be aware, colleagues online, to email your questions through to the registrar. Thank you.
Is this on? Yes. I'm Thandi Gamedze from the Desmond Tutu Center for Religion and Social Justice. Thank you. I was concerned by the mention of Israeli universities almost seemingly as a model for faculties of humanities, particularly in the current situation that we're in today. I imagine that you're aware that UWC has taken quite a clear stance in solidarity with Palestine, and in particular, a commitment to boycott and divestment from Israel. And I think this position and this stance is illustrative of a much broader commitment to social justice at this university, and I think it's particularly important that the faculty embodies this, because I think we're all very clear that, academic institutions are political institutions, and we are taking important stances with our choices in our research and in how we go forward. And so I would love you to speak about your commitments to social justice, I think in terms of Palestine and some of UWC's commitments, but also in terms of issues of race, class, gender, sexuality, and how you will address those issues as Dean. Thank you.
Prof. Becky, would you like to respond to that one, or 3? All 3, okay, good. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Prof. Becky, for your presentation. So my question to you is, I know that you're a scholar of international relations, of politics. How does your scholarship in that area, how will it shape, how will it influence the way that you will lead this faculty, both strategically and also operationally? So this is really a question for me about your leadership style. Also from the Desmond Tutu Center for Religion and Social Justice, Lee. Thanks.
Thank you, and if we could move to this side of the room. Thank you. We don't want any expensive equipment thrown around this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. I wondered if you could say something about academic development. And you know, academic development was a foundation of this faculty many years ago. It is what Wally Morrow called epistemological access. And you remember from your experience at UWC, there was always a way in which a conversation about literacy was very crucial to how we thought about first-generation students at UWC. It seems that we've lost sight of some of this, and in your presentation, I was wondering, you know, where you'd locate the question of academic development, but also what your approaches might be given the new circumstances that you outlined for the university, both locally and globally. And then just to tag on to that, do you think that UWC might alter the conception of what we mean by the humanities in this global arena that you outlined for us?
Thank you very much, Prof. Becky. We can take the three, and if we have time, we'll see how we go. There we go.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thanks to the colleagues for the questions. I like the first question because I did it deliberately, in fact. And you can see of all the countries I listed, I started with Israel. I did it deliberately. At the institution where I'm based, I'm one of the people who sponsored a motion which went through faculty taking a position against Israel. And I've always been hard at work giving our politicians a hard time here in South Africa, given the way they are running the country. But when they took a decision that they are taking Benjamin Netanyahu to the ICJ, I was one of their main supporters. I even defended it in many platforms, nationally and internationally. So in principle, I'm totally against what Israel is doing. I even quarreled with a white lady at the mall where I was wearing a shirt written Israel is an apartheid state. And then the white lady was offended. Then I had to give her a lecture. She made a mistake then of saying that I am a student of history. I understand what is happening. I said, that's exactly your problem. You are a student of history. I'm a professor of history. So I know better than you do. So you better shut up and then listen to people who are going to talk about this. From a religious perspective, I can explain to you the history of the Israeli-Palestine relations. From a historical point of view, I can educate you only if you have time. But given your arguments right now, I can't even waste my time. So to answer your point, in terms of social justice, I strongly believe that this is what we all should aspire to achieve. It's difficult because there are people who will walk left and then, of course, sing right. So that is the reality we're faced with. The only reason why I use this example, I wanted to make this critical point, and thanks for affording me the opportunity to do that. I'm of the belief that if you are my worst enemy, but you happen to do something right, out of 10 things you've done, there is something that is right, then I'll take that regardless of whether you're my enemy or not. You can be my best friend. If you mess up, I'll tell you, no, what you're doing is wrong, totally wrong. So in this case, the only reason I selected that part where the Israeli higher academic institutions are attracting students in the arts and humanities was in the context of demonstrating how you can reposition arts and humanities by making sure that we have youngsters who are up and coming, who are going to make sure that arts and humanities as an academic field then is sustained. That was the only reason. Otherwise, everything else that Israel is doing is totally wrong, and I'm totally opposed to it. So that is how I can respond to that one. My IR and political science experience and exposure to other countries, how will that assist in shaping this institution, and what would be my leadership style? I'll disappoint you, my sister, by saying that I'm one person who doesn't believe in one leadership style. When people say that I use democratic leadership style, I say, yeah, it's fine, you can do that. But there are circumstances when you have to deviate. There is situational leadership. There is pace-making leadership. So basically, it depends on the situation you find yourself in, and then you act accordingly. But generally, you can have one or two. In terms of my leadership style, I'm definitely not an autocratic leader, simply because I believe that I don't know it all. I can't claim to be an omniscient narrator who knows everything. So even my students, Prof. Lalo will remember there was a time when I was teaching first years, and in my first class, I would tell my students that if I teach, listen to me and listen to me attentively, but don't believe a word I say until you can prove it on your own that what I'm saying is right. That was basically my way of telling the students that the fact that there is a lecturer standing in front of them doesn't mean that the lecturer is a fountain of knowledge. You can always learn from others. So my leadership style, therefore, is informed by that philosophy that I don't take myself as all-knowing. I can learn from others, and therefore I make sure that I keep changing my leadership style in that context, depending on the situation. That is why there is even situational leadership for that matter. Prof. Lalo, in terms of academic development, I am of the view that you cannot, they say if you want to do well, you must make sure that you amass power around yourself. But if you want to be the best, make sure that you capacitate as many people as possible. Academic development, therefore, means that you cannot be a professor and then you want to be a lone striker. You have to make sure that you capacitate those who are coming behind you. Your sub-question was with regards to literacy and, of course, making sure that you understand the context within which you are operating. My first ever article that was published was titled, "They Die with Guns in Their Hands." And I did it with the Academic Development Unit. And the essence of what I was saying there was that you may have a second language speaker, third language speaker of English, and then you come to the conclusion that because the student cannot articulate his or her ideas, therefore the student is dumb. And I was saying that is not correct. You can have the gun, but if you don't know how to use it, then people are going to assume that you are a failure, which is not the case. So my thinking, therefore, is that whether we are dealing with students or we are dealing with academic staff, we have to understand the level at which they are operating and understand the circumstances under which they are operating, and then devise a way to try and upscale them without you being a lone striker, being the only star that is shining. So that would be my approach. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Prof, for fielding those three questions. We've come to the end of our interview session. I remind the colleagues, those of you who are online would like to still pose a question or two, please email the Registrar's Office with the questions. Prof. Ngomezulu, we want to thank you very much for coming all this way and being with us in person this morning. It's been a pleasure, I think, to listen to you and also for colleagues to have the opportunity to engage with you. We want to wish you safe travels later on your return, and there'll be an opportunity, of course, for the panel to engage further with you later in the course of the day. Let's give Prof a round of applause. I'm glad you're not walking off with my pen, by the way, because I would be walking off with your pen if it was the other way around. You will need it. Yes. Thanks very much. Let me just check with the Secretariat in terms of our timekeeping. So we're running about 5 minutes? 5 minutes over time. Yeah, okay. Couple of minutes. So I think we can move on. Would colleagues like a quick stretch break before we call the next candidate in? Please. Okay. So we're just after 10. 3 minutes stretch break, and then we return.
But then, quite a few things went wrong. I'm sorry. Eventually, we went down when I was in I said, please ask them for me at the reception. Then they came back and then, Grandma, 268, 268. Then I took all the questions for
Colleagues, if we can come together to make a start, please. Everybody. I just want to check with the Secretariat, are we still okay online? Everybody's still connected? Let's come together to make a start, everyone. Okay, and I think, are we ready to call? Yes? Yes. But that's why we've reminded people please to email their questions through to the registrar's office, and then they will be considered in the panel process. We'll have a look at the questions there. No. Please email the comments and questions to the registrar's office. Are we ready to call Prof. Abiodun Salawu in? Can we do so? Good morning, Prof. Abiodun, and welcome. You're welcome to come and stand next to me here, Prof. It's a pleasure to welcome you to UWC, and thank you very much, Prof. Salawu, for making yourself available to be interviewed today. We look forward to your presentation with us. We have an opportunity, Prof. Salawu, to have a 20-minute presentation. There'll be a 10-minute question period. Colleagues in the audience will ask up to about 3 questions, and we also have an online community this morning that will email their questions through to the registrar's office, also for noting later in the course of the day with the interview with you. So it's a great pleasure to welcome you among the UWC community. Prof. Salawu is an experienced academic and has taught previously at Ajayi Crowther University in Nigeria, has also taught at the University of Fort Hare, and most recently at NWU. Also, interest on reading the CV, Prof, is to see that you were distinguished professor also at Waxin University in India, which is interesting. And Prof is also a C1 rated academic with 15 PhDs supervised, and as I counted, 11 master's degrees also supervised. So we really look forward to listening to you, Prof. And afterwards we will go through the Q&A process. Thank you very much and welcome.
Good morning, colleagues. I'm glad to be here today, and I thank the University of the Western Cape, for considering me for the position. I'll be speaking to this. This is the brief that I got. So, and I have just 20 minutes, and a lot to cover in the brief. So I will try as much as possible to cover everything in the brief. Okay. Yeah. I set out by saying that there has been a lot of emphasis on the STEM disciplines, and that in a way has also meant some kind of neglect for the disciplines in the humanities. An anonymous writer in 1964 says that the social sciences are fighting for life, the humanities against death. What is certain is that neither is properly adjusted to the educational and social needs of the modern world. That's the crisis of humanities. This kind of notion about humanities, the crisis that humanities disciplines are facing, actually led to the commissioning of the Charter of Humanities and Social Sciences by the then Minister of Higher Education, and Training here in South Africa. I said that the charter was prompted by the suspicion that humanities and social sciences were being neglected and becoming weaker. But the fact still remains that even though humanities are facing crises, the fact remains that the arts and humanities provide essential skills for personal, intellectual, social, and cultural development. And in clear terms, humanities provide critical thinking and analytical skills, communication and interpersonal skills, ethical and cultural awareness, creativity, and innovation. These are the kind of skills that you can obtain from humanities. Humanities are sites of wokeness of many kinds. And this leads to left radicalism, okay? And we have seen this, in the emergence of critical areas of study, such as cultural studies, literary theory, gender studies, sexuality, and post-colonial and decolonial studies. Interestingly, University of the Western Cape, is adjudged to be an intellectual home of the left. And for that reason, you find some of these critical areas of study that are regarded as radicalism. You find some of these, at UWC, gender studies, sexuality studies, and all that. But then there are also new areas of scholarship, like digital humanities, digital arts, medical humanities, environmental humanities, which are new areas of scholarship, in humanities. And I believe that the UWC, already has digital humanities as an area of focus. So my vision for the Faculty of Arts and Humanities at UWC, of course, first, to embrace the UWC's vision of a research-led university, which is very important. Research is important, and that, will have to inform even the learning and teaching. So the research has to be, yeah. Therefore, Arts and Humanities will seek to continuously validate its position as the heartbeat of the university in terms of research excellence, teaching, learning, innovations, creativity, and critical thinking. The faculty will continue to ensure a synergy between the noblest traditions of humanities education and the new forms of knowledge emerging within and at the intersections of disciplines. The traditional humanities, will not be neglected, where at the same time, the new forms of knowledge in humanities, will also be embraced. The art component of the faculty will be given life to, because that's one observation that I made while going through the website of the faculty. Is art and humanities faculty, but the art component, seem to be absent. I want to see a faculty where we have visual arts, in terms of sculpture, painting, and all that, and filmmaking, performing arts, drama, music, and of course design arts, graphic design, animation, video games, design, and all that. So the faculty's community, in terms of community engagement, I will seek to promote scholarship of engagement in community initiatives. This will embrace evaluation of the impact and sustainability of the effort. It's not just about engaging with the community. We want to see the impact that the engagement, are making. And this will take a decoloniality approach, because we will engage the community to be co-creators of knowledge. Not that we as a university will just be dumping ideas, and providing expertise to the community without giving them the opportunity to also contribute to the knowledge. So raising the child of the art and humanities. University of Oxford in the United Kingdom studied 11,000 of its humanities graduates and issued a widely publicized report of their hidden impact, noting the breadth and variety of roles in society that they adopt and the striking consistency with which they have had successful careers in sectors driving economic growth, which means that humanities disciplines are not useless. They are important, for the growth of our society. Arts and humanities ensure that students acquire the analytical skills, historical depth, as well as appreciate the diversity of cultures. These are required for them to assume leadership roles as responsible, ethical, and cutting-edge scholars, social scientists, development agents, managers, administrators, cultural workers, creative artists, policy makers, consultants, and professional communicators. In all, our students at UWC are primed to be thoughtful and engaged citizens in a global world. In 2011, the ASAF Consensus Panel on the Future of the Humanities found that humanities graduates are employable. They might be slow in securing jobs, that's what the report said, but they tended to secure jobs in the sectors for which they are qualified. Okay, what are my strategies for enhancing research and teaching the faculty? So there will be training, so we will intensify the training activities in terms of article writing workshops, so that more and more of colleagues can be involved in research and publishing, postgraduate supervision, training, using technology to support learning, grant writing workshops, NRF written application workshops, and all that. There will be motivation and support for academics without PhD yet to pursue and complete it. And there will also be motivation and support for colleagues to apply for NRF rating. There will be motivation and support to colleagues to apply for grants and fellowships. And these are all part of scholarly activities that we need to encourage our colleagues to be involved in. Collaboration. I shall encourage interdisciplinary efforts among the various branches of knowledge in the faculty. This will be achieved with the creation of more research projects that foster collaboration among disciplines in the faculty. And essentially, this applied humanities, digital humanities, medical humanities, and environmental humanities, they are areas of humanities that can foster collaboration. Because with digital humanities, we are talking of humanities combined, with computer science, IT and all that. Medical humanities, humanities with health science, environmental humanities and all that. Then the critical studies areas like gender studies will readily lend themselves to transdisciplinary teaching. So, because in gender studies, we can talk of disciplines like sociology, history, literature, philosophy, politics, coming together in this area. And my own personal research focus, which is indigenous language media, brings together linguistics, African language studies, and media studies. So this will also foster collaboration between disciplines of linguistics, African language studies, and media studies. So addressing challenges posed by AI and generative AI, certainly there are challenges, but then there must also be ways, to combat these challenges. One challenge is plagiarism. That's one challenge of the use of AI. So there will be use of AI detection tools to combat plagiarism. And there will also be updating of plagiarism policies to include AI-generated content and define acceptable AI usage. There will also be training to educate students and academics about the ethical use of AI, train them how to evaluate AI-generated content and distinguish credible sources. That's to combat misinformation and bias. Encourage students and academics to use AI as a research assistant rather than a replacement for their intellectual efforts. That's to combat a lack of critical thinking and research skills. And lecturers should also receive training on how to incorporate AI effectively into teaching. Lecturers should give assignments that focus more on critical analysis and problem solving rather than regurgitation of facts. Also to combat lack of critical thinking and research skills, because these are challenges of the use of AI. AI-generated content should be cited properly. So we have to refer to guidelines, MLA, APA guidelines on AI usage. And this is to combat intellectual property and copyright issues. And of course, to bridge digital divide and access access inequality, because there are students and even academics, they may not have equal access, to this tool AI. So as an institution, we should invest in AI tools and make them available for all students and researchers, and also encourage the use of free or low-cost AI tools. And I trust that the university already has guidelines on the use of AI. So meeting PG enrollment targets. I will discuss this, I hope I can, within the time remaining, I can talk about this, under these three themes: recruiting, retaining, and supporting students; ensuring program excellence, and growing opportunities for financial support. So the first team, recruiting, retaining, and supporting students. The goal will be to increase the faculty's postgraduate student population to 30% of its total enrollment through recruitment and retention of high-achieving and diverse students. This also includes growing the number of staff with PhDs. So how do we want to do this? We will effectively recruit high-achieving students, from among even the undergraduate, the honor students, and ensure representation of underrepresented communities, because this is a university that prides itself, on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Develop a research culture among undergraduates, even right from undergraduate, that culture has to be developed. Sustain the recruitment of international students from within and outside of the African continent. Increase the efficiency of application and admission process, and improve timely and clear communication with applicants. Improve communication among the research development and PG support office, postgraduate students and postgraduate faculty. Improve mentoring and advising relationships between students and postgraduate faculty. Take advantage of collaboration with national and international research organizations to provide research training support to postgraduate students. So such organizations are Codestria, which has a college of mentors, support to doctoral schools, and NRF, and I also believe SAHUDA, that's a South African Humanities Deans Association, in collaboration with NIHSS, also has a support for doctoral students. So we also need to provide avenues for financial support to postgraduate students. I will talk also briefly about this, in the other thing. Okay. And also provide the mental health support for postgraduate students suffering mental stress. Yeah, because postgraduate students go through a lot of mental stress, and we need to provide mental health support for them so that they can complete their programs and in good time. So the second theme, about recruitment of postgraduate students, because if you do not ensure our program excellence, we will not be competitive. Students, will not want to come to our university or faculty, to study. So how do we do this? We will grow the number of postgraduate faculty, which means that academic staff, we will have to grow the number of academic staff, who are eligible, who are qualified to supervise postgraduate students, and their capacity to train students. We will maintain and improve on the quality of facilities and infrastructures available for research, and improve quality assessment of postgraduate programs. We also need to improve and enhance transdisciplinary and interdisciplinary opportunities in postgraduate education. So the third theme, growing opportunities for financial support, because we discovered that we are not getting enough applicants into our postgraduate program because of lack of finance. So we need to try to grow opportunities, for financial support for the students. How do we do this? We need to improve on bursaries to postgraduate students, engage worthy postgraduate students as graduate assistants with incentives, and in conjunction with the Research Development and PG Support Office of the university, we need to facilitate the creation of endowment for postgraduate fellowships. We also need to push for the incentivization of publications made by students, so that it should not just be only the academic staff who will be incentivized when they publish. And this will be a good source of finance, for the students. Expose students to grants, bursary opportunities from national and international organizations. We need to provide them with information, about these opportunities, and also provide them support for the applications. Okay. So, soul of the university. I see humanities as the soul of the university, because there is no other faculty in the university that is better placed to engage in public intellectualism, and that will be done, through public lectures, seminars, and discussion forums. Yeah, so our faculty, will be very well engaged in that. even as I speak today, we are, my research entity that I manage, at Northwest University is having a public lecture to be delivered by the Minister of Sport, Art and Culture. So unfortunately, I'm not able to be there because of this important event. Faculty in the Arts and Humanities will also be encouraged to contribute to debates in the media through writing opinion pieces in the print media, as well as granting media interviews and participating in broadcast current affairs discussion programs, and of course, also on digital platforms. So my vision statement for the faculty is to be a preeminent research-led faculty of Art and Humanities with innovative, transformative, and critical scholarship rooted in African reality and with global impact. Thank you for listening, and Kosi Danki.
Thank you, Prof. Abiodun. And we could see the expertise in communication and writing as your presentation unfolded this morning. I'd like to take 3 inputs, questions from our audience. There we go. Thank you. And thank you very much. And a 3rd question, possibly anybody? So let's take the 2 questions, Prof. We keep an eye on the time, and if we have more, we can see how we go. Thanks.
Good morning, Prof. Thank you for your presentation. I am Robin Southgate from the Faculty Office. So my question to you is, what is your vision for the academic administrators in the faculty? And then also, 50% of our current Faculty Office staff is registered for postgraduate studies. How would you support those staff members? Thank you.
Sorry, can you, the second one, can you take it again?
Okay, so 50% of our current Faculty Office staff is registered for postgrad studies. How would you support them?
Okay.
Thank you.
And the first one is about my vision for the administrators.
Thank you, Prof. Salau. Interesting presentation. My main question had to do with the vision of bringing life to the arts via visual arts and design arts. So do you see a new program in that sense, or do you see collaborations unfolding for us to, because it sounds like to me saying there's been a focus on humanities but not on arts as a visual arts and design and all other forms of arts. So how do you see this in your tenure coming up? Do you see a new program in this sense, or do you see a collaboration? Thanks.
Thank you very much. I want to ask a question about the work of the humanities in terms of critique and judgment. And it seems that what is happening globally is a diluting of these principles that are the cornerstones of the humanities. And I wondered, since you mentioned criticism as a key strategic objective of the humanities, how you imagine some of that unfolding in relation to these new fields of the humanities, digital humanities, environmental humanities, medical humanities, and so on and so forth. Because it seems that those are problem-solution oriented, but they don't hold up the principles of judgment and criticism that are so generic to humanities education.
Okay, thanks so much, colleagues. Let me just see how I can address the various questions. Of course, my vision for academic administrators, will be to support them, because, without them, really, we academic staff, will not be able to do a lot of the things we do. Yeah, as a director of a research entity, at Northwest University, I know the importance of my administrator. Yeah, because, is it, about the management of our postgraduate student that I want to talk about? Yeah, because she's the one, responsible for the administrative part of it. Or is it even when we publish, who captures our publications, in the InfoEd system, and a lot of other things that she does. While I was presenting, I spoke about the fact that we are hosting the minister today, in my university, and she's all over, planning for this thing and all that. And without, somebody like her and my other able colleagues, I will not be able to come here believing that everything will go well. So my vision for them, is to support them, give them all the necessary tools that they need, and whatever incentives, that will make them to perform, to the optimum, we will give them, because I know the importance of what they do. And of course, about the fact that 50% of these academic administrators are students, postgraduate students. Of course, we have to create space for them. And I also want to believe that they themselves, they are disciplined enough to also manage their time, between the job and the studies in such a way that, okay, I'm sorry, I have to also go back to my administrator. She just bagged a PhD. She will be graduating in May. So if we didn't create space for her, to also to do our studies, while also servicing us as our administrator, she will not be able to complete her PhD. She just completed her PhD in sociology, and in the graduation ceremony in Mahikeng, in May, she will be graduating. So we give them, all the support that they need for them to be able to succeed in their studies. I know that they need time and they need space, and they need encouragement. So we'll do all that for them. Yeah, because I also believe that if they are also properly educated, they will understand, the kind of role that they need to play and how to support, academic staff better. Visual art. Well, my vision, with the support of the Vice Chancellor and the management of the university, is to, though it's not something that will happen immediately, is to start some programs, in these areas, though it will be gradual, in visual arts, in performing arts, drama, music, and all that, and even in digital arts, okay, graphic design and all that. So when I get to this university, that will be one of the first things that we have to pursue. How do we start at least one or two of these art disciplines in the faculty to start with? I know that as a dean, I only have 5 years. And within that 5 years, we'll be able to at least start something. And after that, it can be built upon. Okay. And critical thinking, digital humanities, and all other applied humanities. I do not think that the critical thinking, is absent in these applied humanities, either in the medical humanities, or in digital humanities, or in environmental humanities. Because humanities, are still in there. Somebody, studying literature, and the focus, is on medical humanities, trying to see how literature, is being used, to address the issue of health and all that. So critical thinking, is also involved in it. I do not think, it's absent. I do not really think that we need to be worried about that. So critical thinking, is still there, because humanities are still very much, in what we are talking about. Thank you.
Prof. Salawu, thank you very much for engaging with the questions today. And just a reminder to our online colleagues, please do email any questions through to the Registrar's office. Prof, we want to recognize that you've come a long way to be with us and appreciate it. It was very good to listen to you on the various themes in relation to the presentation this morning, and we look forward also to engaging with you a little bit later today. And I think on that note, let's offer Prof. Salawu a round of applause.
Thank you very much.
Okay, how are we doing for time? Are we still 5 minutes behind, colleagues? Can we take the next candidate? And that'll be the fourth in the series of candidates this morning. Good morning and welcome to Prof. Anay Verhoef from NWU. Prof. Anay, I'm going to introduce you to our audience this morning and explain a little of the process, as we've also done with previous candidates. So we have a 20-minute period for presentation in which we will listen to you this morning, and then approximately 10 minutes of question time. We anticipate there'll be about 3 questions that we will be able to take in the 10-minute period that we have. But I want to very warmly welcome you to the University of the Western Cape this morning. Prof. Anay Verhoef is an experienced academic with a specialization in philosophy and also an NRF-rated academic. He has 18 master's degree combination with master's and MPhil supervisions completed and 6 completed PhD supervisions, an extensive array of publications. When I was looking at the CV, it was interesting to me to see that not only is Prof. Anay an expert in philosophy, but has focused on happiness and AI. And we look forward to your engagement with us, Prof. Anay, and to listening to you in the course of the presentation. Thank you. Oh, and I forgot to mention we have a timekeeper in the front row here that you engage with. Thank you.
Is this the clicker too? Oh, okay. Thank you, Prof. Robert. I asked before I came in if the chair of the council is here as well, and they said yes, Ms. Koliswa Mpongoshwe is here as well. Thank you for you being here as well. Of course, Professor Balfour as the Vice-Chancellor. I haven't met the other DVCs yet, but I assume they're here in university management, other professors, and I don't know if there are students here. That would surprise me if they're here. Are there students here during the holiday break? Not here. Okay, they take a break, so that's fine. Perhaps they're online, so I'll assume there are some students here as well. First of all, I want to say thank you. It's an honor for me to be here, to get this opportunity to share something of my vision for the Arts and Humanities faculty. It would be an honor, of course, if I get a job and can fulfill this vision as a part of the team here at the University of Western Cape. I have some good memories with this university. I was thinking when I drove here, I gave my first ever academic lecture here at the colloquium at the University of Western Cape. Professor Ernst Conradi arranged it. and I just got my PhD, and I was so nervous. It was all these professors sitting around the table. But in the end, it was a good experience. I think I published 2 articles from that conference, and the professors gave good feedback. So at least I got a good start at University of Western Cape. And I returned later for, again, Professor Conradi's inaugural lecture. And I was really impressed by the way University of Western Cape conduct a whole ceremony, and there was some dignity that I thought, yeah, that was really appropriate to give recognition to staff when they become full professors, and it was inspiring. And I think I realized at that young age how important it is to have excellent professors, distinguished professors, because it inspires younger scholars. It inspires them not only in a scholarly field, but also to be like that person, to talk that kind of language, to think the way they think. So I got the experience of that year as well at University of Western Cape. So now I'm back. I'm nervous again, but luckily I'm a little bit older, and I'm going to try my best to share some of my vision for this faculty. I think most of you have received the topic that I received with all the bullets I have to attend to. It's too long, that list. And normally I know they make it too long because they want the candidate to summarize it within 20 minutes, which is an impossibility. So I decided, let me rather frame the topic that I have to address within a broader, I think most urgent context for higher education. And that is artificial intelligence. Let me try to position then the faculty and my vision for it for the next 5-10 years within this landscape, which is changing so rapidly, and it's becoming so unpredictable that we need to think from this context. And hopefully if I miss some points you were waiting to hear, you're welcome to ask that then in the end, and I'll try to address those specific things that were asked within this framework at the end. I'll try to address it. Let me just make a note before I start with my PowerPoint, and you will see that. So there's a question I often get, if AI is not just a sort of hype that will pass, is it really something that we need to think through on such a fundamental level? So I've been now in the academy for about 16 years, and the last few years I've been involved with AI at Northwest University. I'm director now of the AI Hub since the beginning of this year. And I've attended a few international conferences end of last year. First in San Antonio in America. It was a teaching learning conference, and I think 90 or 95% of the presentations were on AI, the impact on higher education. Then I attended one online. It was in Berlin, also a huge, the annual teaching learning conference, and about all the presentations were on AI. And then in person I attended one in Singapore, and also in the Eastern world. It's just so a big thing, and we see that, of course, it's a hype that can go down, but it will not go away. So that's just a remark in the beginning, that if you think AI will pass, at least I want you to rethink it with me, and how it will change education in future, and especially the future of the Faculty of Arts and Humanities. So I'll have to press this. I haven't used something like this before. Is it on top? Oh, sorry, Robert. Is it that one? Okay, thank you. Let me, yes. So, first of all, I've sort of mentioned it already, but AI is changing everything. I was thinking about a song this morning, and it was playing on the radio. I can't believe when I drove here this morning, I couldn't believe it. Love changes everything. Love changes everything. You know that song. And it says, love makes you fly. It can break your wings. Do, 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 do. You know the song? The same for AI. It's really changing everything. It can make us fly. It can break our wings as an institution. It all depends how we approach it. It's really, especially in higher education, so crucial because AI is working with knowledge creation. And it changes the way we are teaching, what we are teaching, how we do research. Fundamentally, we are challenged by AI. It's not just how we're going to use AI now, make a more productive company somehow, or get more robots in or something like that. It's fundamentally challenged everything we do at the university. It's challenged the whole education endeavor. The thing we all value here in this room, education, knowledge, the truth, the learning processes, all of that's going to change by AI. Let me put it differently. AI, as I said, will change everything we do at the university. To such an extent, it will happen at such an extent that we will ask the question, and it's already asked, are universities still needed? A lecturer asked me the other day, a lecturer in education asked me, when will students start to say, this is just a scam, the university, we pay for a lot of money and AI can do it anyway? When will they start to say? So a few years ago, we still had a question of what is the future of humanities, arts and humanities. And there was this debate between the STEM subjects and how it fits in, who will create work or not. But now the question changed. It quite changed to not only about humanities, but education per se. What's the future of education? That's the question. What and how are we teaching, and why are we still teaching this in the age of AI? Now, this is not a new question. The question of education, what, how, what, and it's a question, of course, you know, Paulo Freire who said, no, we are not just banking deposit knowledge into students. We should think and help them to rethink and develop some skills, but now with AI there's a renewed emphasis, a renewed urgency to rethink what we do at universities. Now AI forces us to question all outcomes of all our modules, because some outcomes just became redundant. AI can do it. Why are we still teaching it? Of course, students will just then use AI to do it, and they should. We have to think all programs. Why are we still teaching programs that can be completely replaced by AI? Or some degrees, and that's scary. Or all education, not only on a tertiary level, but in school level. We know that children are using AI at school level as well. We have free knowledge, excellent knowledge available immediately now. We have compassionate tutors, compassionate, they program it. They can really be compassionate, you should test them. We have excellent chatbots. Your special teacher at school will be dwarfed by AI. The best doctor you always go to, he knows everything, it's just overwhelmed by AI. They're all good now. So we must rethink, reimagine, reformulate our education, all our outcomes completely, for all faculties, not only arts, humanities. This interesting thing is, in this age, suddenly there's a nice shift taking place, and that is that the faculty of arts and humanities are taking the center stage, and I think it's good news for people who are in that faculty. We know AI develops so fast, and the O3 one has just been released about a month or two ago. DeepSeek, deep research, they call it all deep somehow, but they're capable not only of producing all these things, but of reasoning. That's what makes them special. For decision making, the complexity level is just becoming so much extended. So AI develops so quickly that we sense it somehow, but we not know exactly. But so many subjects will be replaced by AI. And the ironic thing is IT is the one that's most prone to it, because AI can immediately program or do coding. In engineering, you must see, there's a free LeoBot. You can ask engineering questions. There are so many top companies that trust this site. It's free, it's excellent. With psychology, there are free psychological bots. The research that were published last year, end of last year in Elsevier, indicates excellent results. It relieves depression, anxiety. It's for free. It's 24 hours available. Even in theology, we have AI Jesus, AI Buddha, AI Muhammad, you must see it. They're all available to give you spiritual guidance. So what are we doing at universities, at this expensive institution? Are we still needed? Are we preparing our students for this new world of AI where work will look completely different? That's my point. We need to rethink what we do at universities to remain relevant and legitimate. We cannot guarantee which jobs will be safe in future. But what we can do at university level is to say, let's partner with what AI can give us. But something else we should do, and that is that we should take advantage of what AI cannot do. And that is where humanities come in. That's the question humanity asks. What is it that makes us uniquely human? And what is that really that we should develop then at university? And that brings me to my vision for this faculty of arts and humanities. Of course, a clear vision is needed in this time. It's a disruptive technology on the most fundamental sense we deal with. It's not only in and for arts and humanities, but of course for faculty, university management, for all academics needed. And when I was thinking about what vision is needed, I thought, but something is already there in this university, University of Western Cape's history, that can help us. In the mission statements, it says that we should search for humane and sustainable solution to the challenges of our time. You hear that the humane and sustainable solutions. Looking back, response, looking forward, see what's valuable in this time. What have we done at universities that really makes us valuable? Are we going to continue with that? So it's not only a vision we see, but trying to build on what we experience and value in the past. To imagine it, but also to construct it. And those things I think we all share: human autonomy, agency, freedom, dignity. Being human in all its possible goodness, beauty, and justice. Those are the values we should treasure in this age of AI, especially in the arts and humanities faculty. We should see how we affect our natural environment, our societies, and how we can contribute to it as human beings. On the webpage of this University of Western Cape, it says the vision of the future, I want to just highlight 3 things there, is to create and maintain a sense of hope. You know that AI can be disruptive in the sense that it undermines academics. It takes away the energy because now what should we do? But this university should keep to their vision. How can we maintain a sense of hope? How can we create knowledge that is dynamic and relevant to the challenges of a modern world? It's there already on paper, but it's so relevant now in the age of AI. And of course, the last one, to remind people who are treasuring our agency, to believe we can make a difference. We're not giving it over to AI to control us or society in some sort of algorithm. What does this mean practically? I've put some slides there of Northwest University at the bottom that you can see we're busy working with this. I think first of all, we should embrace AI. This is what's happening worldwide, but in an ethical and responsible way, with a human touch. That's the important thing, to be human-centered, as UNESCO also formulates it. To rethink, reimagine, reformulate all outcomes. We're busy doing it with our engineering faculty. We put all the yearbook on ChatGPT and ask which outcomes are redundant, which one will always need human intervention, which ones will just be always human outcomes. The UCT put a whole yearbook into it. And the one, for example, that came out that says, no, this will always be a program that will be 100% human, is one with sociology. If you have to intervene or have a program in society with ethical care and sensitivity, I can't do that. You see how easy it is to identify the outcomes, how we should rewrite it, reimagine it. Of course, we should address the problems of AI. There are globally 2 main issues with AI. The one is integrity. And we should face it. If students use AI unethically and they get the degrees in that way, in an unethical way, it will mean nothing. Then we're not doing any justice to our students. This should be a high priority on our list. And the second one is training for students, for staff, to keep on training and not all do all these free courses that's available on all these websites or even pay for some in Australia, but develop our own contextual training for AI. I only have 5 points. I see my time is nearly up. Of course, we should encourage cross-disciplinary research during this time, because the other subjects will want to know from us what makes a good dentist. Not all the knowledge, not only compassion, what else? What else? Humanities should take hands with them. Humanities will become more and more important in this age. We need to take hands with all the other subjects, because one of the biggest problems of AI is the learning gap that is just increasing so much. AI is producing so much information that it just exceeds our human capacity to absorb it. The speed is incredible. Nobody can absorb it. So we need to work interdisciplinary to see what is important, what are really good new knowledge, what is applicable to our societies. Humanities cannot do that alone. Practically, it means to create community of practices, research group, thinking tanks with students. They are exposed to it much more. I think some lecturers are still afraid of it, but the students have a strong voice here. And of course, we should revitalize, reposition our postgraduate studies within the context of AI. Before AI, if you got a master's degree or PhD degree, you're the expert. You can have that chip on your shoulder. You know something. Now with AI, everybody is knowing that, and even much more. So why would you study to be a master or PhD graduate? That's the question we should ask seriously. Because why, if students say no, there's no reason, they will not do it. Globally, we see the enrollment numbers going down, I think for this reason. So we need to develop new ways of thinking about research, creating new knowledge, augmenting AI, incorporating it as much as possible. Wits University is doing cancer research. They're using huge models to plot all the cancer research that's being done. Where are the gaps? Where's knowledge not applied yet? You see, it's a different picture. You're using AI. You're really creating new knowledge, not just polluting the internet with a lot of junk that students write and get degrees for, or even staff in articles. That's the challenge. So to summarize, I think I'm doing well with my time. Arts and humanities is highly relevant today in the age of AI. This faculty has a crucial role to play at the University of the Western Cape. Staff and students should therefore be empowered to do it, to get it right. And this begins with embracing AI in an ethical and responsible way, with a human touch. What that means can only be answered by arts and humanities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Ney, for the insights into AI and its impact on the humanities. We have an opportunity for 3 questions. I see there's several hands. If we could begin on this side and then move to that side of the room and then come back to this side again.
Thank you very, very much. I'm interested in whether it matters which institution you are in when this question of AI gets posed. So I'm wondering about, say, WITS and UWC. And the reason I'm asking this is in relation to this terrifying prospect that we might be entering an uncanny valley. And this is a term that is now circulating in the broader schema of the critique of digital humanities, that we're entering a place where there's something uncanny about this technology and that we are faced with huge psychic despair and disrepair, if you like. And I wondered what that looks like for the question of the problem of race. That if one were to take up in the humanities, which at this university is a serious question, the problem of race, the problem of its problematization, if you like. What does that look like in the space of an embracing of AI? And does it matter that it might differ from an institution marked by a concept of the technological as a drive to no end in some instances?
Thank you. Should I give all three questions and then continue? Yes.
Yes, thank you so much. I'll also hinge on that question to ask my question also, because I was interested in, since you have a background in philosophy and you're in AI, I thought that would come through in terms of the ethics of AI, algorithmic colonization, which is happening. So I didn't sort of hear that from a presentation in terms of how does humanities actually add to the conversation around ethics of AI, how we deal with the ethical issues pertaining to AI, how we deal with algorithmic biases amongst other things. So how does the humanities actually contribute from a philosophical point of view to the conversation around AI in higher education? Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much, Prof, for your presentation. Luando Scott here from the Center for Humanities Research. My question or prompt is somewhat also thinking seriously about location from the first question you got almost. When I think about AI and other digital conversations that we're having, I can't help but think about infrastructure. So my question here is built on the assumptions that there is an existing infrastructure, and I mean infrastructure here in a general big sense, not just physical, but that too. So in order to think and to operationalize AI, I ask this question in the sense that for the global north, while there too AI and the digital has accelerated, but there's been a kind of path, right, that this has traveled, a kind of trajectory. While for us, if you want, by us I mean UWC, by us I mean South Africa, by us I mean Africa, right? There's sort of a jump, if you want, right? We went from the telephone landline to the tablet. So I wonder, right, about us here in South Africa and the kinds of infrastructure to support the kinds of ideas around AI. And again, here infrastructure is beyond just the kind of physical. And just to give you an idea of what I'm thinking about here, if you remember when President Ramaphosa came into power and spoke about, the fourth industrial revolution, if you want, or something to that effect. But of course, you couldn't hear his speech because there was load shedding, right? You see the irony around infrastructure there, right? So I wonder about that jump. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I'm very glad I received some questions. I didn't know anybody here to plant some questions, so but I'm excited about the thinking about it. I share the same questions. Let me first say about the uniqueness of this university and why should this university be involved with AI and how to proceed with that, especially with a context where issues like race, decolonization, things like that has always been high on the agenda. I'm reformulating your question, so hopefully I'll get to what you exactly answered. So, of course, it can be something uncanny, AI. It can, and it does, cause a lot of despair with staff, with students, with researchers. One of the problems is, of course, how AI is biased towards race and how racial things and also gender, but also just cultural things are portrayed through answers in AI. I think if you just type a question, show me a picture of a children's party, it will be white children playing or be indoors with a typical American setup with the gifts and things. It will not be children, let's say Indian children playing there in India, outside. It will just be always in the room. So it's not only on the racial and the gender, but the whole. Remember, AI is generated by all the knowledge that's put into it, And all those knowledge mainly come from the global north, to link to your question. So we have all these biased things. So we have to prepare our students to be critical against using it. And that's where the ethical thing comes in. Of course, we should use AI, as I said, in an ethical, responsible way. That means that if we then engage, as the University of Western Cape with AI, we should ask, what are they missing with all these answers given from a global north perspective? What are they missing in the nuances of describing certain races in a certain way? How can we add a human factor? You see, there comes the unique thing that comes into play from arts and humanities, to really develop that critical thinking with students, to analyze it, to see where the biased notions are, and to engage on that with on a much deeper level, to in the end, to create a more just society and justice. Let me put it different. If we talk about transformation in higher education, I think there are so many external and internal factors that plays into such a enterprise or effort. And of course, race, decolonization, all of that is part of it for the sake to create a more just university, a more just society. But with AI, we get also all these negative things. And we need, it's an external force that forces us to transform as university, to engage with it in a constructive way, that we create justice at this university and in society. So that would be the challenge. It will remain a challenge. I think it links strongly to the second question. So how can the arts and humanities faculty then think about ethics of AI? And it's a much deeper level than just make sure you click the security settings and please make sure you are not copy-pasting it. It's not on that level where the ethics or responsible use lie. It lies on a matter of walking and searching with your students, for example, in supervision, to think with them, how did you get to this answer, how can AI improve it, and how can we take it in a step further, so that some deep learning can take place with the student, so that the student still struggle and learn how to understand those content himself or herself, so that the students are really empowered. If they go out of this specific university, that they know they have a degree that will be valuable in a world of AI. That's the challenge. We can give them the degrees like we did up to now. We all got our degrees without AI, without that world, and it was valuable. But suddenly the question will be if we are really doing a justice to our students, if we don't change the way we handle AI and incorporate it in a way. And of course, we share at the Northwest University the same problems of infrastructure. At our Mafeking campus, there are rural areas, people not being able to have Wi-Fi, electricity devices. And the question is, will the digital divide, and in the end, the poverty divide, rich-poor divide, not increase if we don't make a deliberate effort as a university? It doesn't matter where we are in the world, to expose these students to the magic. It can help us to fly, as I said in the beginning. It can break our wings. It can break our student wings if we don't take them with the rest of this country. It's not a thing for only the privileged, for only the global north. It's a thing that we should create, that we take responsibility of. It's in our hands. There's a new app now, recently launched in France, a specific AI chatbot, and added or compiled with information from the Middle East mainly. That always think about the Middle East. Why not for Africa? Why not? You see, there are the amazing sort of interdisciplinary collaboration possibilities on an ethical, responsible way to transform our societies, to give and create knowledge that makes a difference where it matters most. I've got a warning from the timekeeper, not from AI. So I'll leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Keep having to adjust the mic slightly lower when I come to the podium, Prof. We want to thank Prof. Verhoef for being with us this morning, for presenting ideas to us. It was interesting and stimulating to listen to you. And also to remind colleagues online, please do send through your questions through to the Registrar's office. These will be shared with us in the interview session to come later in the day. So on that note, Prof. Verhoef, we look forward to engaging further with you later in the day and appreciate the energy and the vision that you shared with us this morning. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes. So colleagues and students, that brings us to the end of the morning session. We have a lunch break between now and 12. I think we're still aiming for 12 o'clock. And you're very welcome to mingle and interact at this point. And we look forward to the rest of the sessions to come later this afternoon. And on that note, I want to close this morning's session. Thank you very much, everybody, for making yourselves available. Thank you for the colleagues and the students who also asked questions. That was really appreciated. It got conversation going.